I think the very early stages of an idea are perhaps the most exciting, you know, when you're just flying with visions and enthusiasm. I wanted to make this great bulk which floats in water and keeps self-leveling, so like a boat it keeps going back to upright basically. I think really heavy objects kind of on water are very interesting because they seem to effortlessly kind of roll around. My name's Philip Ray Scott and this is St Kilda. When I was 20, I made my only other kinetic sculpture and kind of vowed never again. Just the sort of mixture of art and engineering is just too stressful to achieve, really. Despite my better judgment, this idea kind of came along. Tried desperately not to go down the route of making it for fear of my insanity, and then sort of lay awake for an entire night thinking about it and just realised this isn't going away, so best get on with it. I think kinetic sculpture, so often the engineering compromises the art. I think what I've managed to achieve with this piece is a piece which sort of does both. And I think it's hopefully is a thought-provoking and extremely unusual thing to sort of look at, with lots of suggestive shapes and things which get the mind working in the way that I think good abstract sculpture does, or should. It's always very difficult for me to work out the root of my inspiration. Easier kind of afterwards in a way, and not so long before this I was reading a book called The Island on the Edge of the World, and it's all about St Kilda and these wonderful kind of stacks of rock which just jut out of the sea vertically, kind of 1,000-foot sort of sheer cliffs. The shapes of these cliffs and the isolation of this thing just kind of out in the sea, subject to the weathers. Definitely a bit of inspiration there. And similarly, I think these sails and the arms, perhaps they're a bit sort of bird-like. These are like kind of beaks, and they cast a similar shadow actually as a kind of a seabird does. With St Kilda, because she's rotating all the time, you don't have to wait a full day for the light to sort of pass over with changing shadows. It's kind of happening all the time. The way the light moves over the Courten is wonderful because you get these extremely strong shadowy areas which are quite kind of uninviting perhaps and kind of cave-like. That same area, when it comes around into the sun, will become golden and sort of inviting. In the windiest conditions I've seen, I've once or twice seen the outer sail nearly half submerged and being thrust down with great force, and it's kind of splashing water everywhere, and then when it pulls up again, the water's kind of sprayed all over the place. And yeah, I've seen it being extremely roguish. So enjoyable to see that, so enjoyable. But then in good weather, she's completely serene, very peaceful, gentle, and kind of polite in a way. People are always trying to keep stainless kind of stain-free, but in this instance I was really excited to get rust kind of bleeding down it. I think these lovely streaks are fantastic, and they kind of bridge the gap between the two materials and link them nicely. To condense 2 years' work into a sentence, if I can, the main engineering challenges have been how to counterbalance the thing so it sits right in the water, how to make it spin reliably rather than being something which just gets kind of tossed about by the wind or just runs in the lee of it, a bit like a weather vane for instance, while simultaneously being built in such a way that it lasts, really stands the test of time in an extremely harsh environment. Water's kind of unkind to nearly everything, and all not compromise the aesthetic, the form of the thing. Putting it out into the water for the first time, it was quite scary to see what would the weather kind of do to it. How would the rust respond, you know, running down it. Whilst it's lost a lot of its sheen in a way, it's gained an enormous amount of history. It looks like it's kind of lived, and it looks like it's sort of come from nature a bit more. I quite like the idea of these man-made objects cast out and left to sort of fend for themselves. So you might find buoys which are made in a busy workshop, towed out to sea, put on a chain and sort of left there. St Kilda's a bit that as well. I love the idea of this sculpture kind of fending for itself, you know, competently out on the water.